idea was to see the difference in stopping between 50 and 40. And although many of us aren't thrilled with reduced speed limits in school zones, if you hit someone at 50, there's an 80% mortality rate. If you hit someone at 40, there's an 80% survivability rate. So, stop. This is the point. That is the point. 10 kilometers an hour makes
a huge
triple the difference. And so that's what we're trying to get across, is that technology can't always save you. Sometimes it will, but sometimes you just have to reduce the speed.
It's all about tires.
That's it. You heard it from Russ Bond. It's all about tires.
So that's where everyone starts. Nice, easy bends. Now here's where they hit the chicane, so it'll be a little bit slow. And then the next part, where you see some action and you see some great snow coming up, we'll be here with the snowdrifts. As you hit the brakes, you're on sheer ice. Okay, there's no stopping. Okay.
Cars are virtually identical. 3 of them are like the exact same 2015 Corollas with different tires. The other one's a 2014, and then we have a 2012. The oddball out there is the Kia, which has a new type of tire on it. And the question as I was saying earlier, is there an actual perfect tire for all of Canada? Or at least all of Ontario, because we teach 20,000 new graduates a year across Canada, the majority in Ontario. Sometimes some tire manufacturers say that this would be great in this, plus this, and other ones actually say, no, this is the best for this situation. Well, you know where you live, and some of you live in an area where you have to drive like this every day. He lives downtown. He doesn't like that much snow. And the other guy, you got it? So the idea is take a look at the performance of the tire and the vehicle. Fountain Tire graciously has got us a wide selection of tires. Look at this crisp, blue, sunshiny day. It's hard to believe that it's minus 22 without the wind chill factor. We've designed a 10-acre test track to let professional automotive journalists experience the profound difference that the choice of tires make. Let's take a look at part number 1, the slalom. This is where you experience the control provided to you by the correct choice of tires. The slalom, it shows the degrees of control you can have with the proper choice of tire, or the degrees of lack of control you have with the improper choice of tires. You have to learn to smoothly transfer the weight from one side of the vehicle to the other so that you don't end up in a fishtail skid into the snowbank. The Kia with the oddball all-weather tires did okay, but nowhere near as well as the properly chosen winter tires. On this gorgeous day, we see that we're stuck halfway around the corner in part number 2, where the snow drifts show us what degrees of traction you actually can get from the proper choice of tires. Rocking the car gently backwards and forwards helps us to get a bit more room to gain momentum to plow through this snow. This set of tires saved us from having to get out and dig or to call a tow truck. At some point in time, everyone will have to deal with blowing snow, snow drifts, or the snow plow plumping a big chunk of ice and slush and sludge, keeping you stuck at the side of the road. How you're going to get out? Well, great choice of tire provides us with enough traction to get out of this snowdrift. Coming up to part number 3, we've got an ice pad. Thick black ice covered with a thin layer of snow. This shows the stopping power of the correct choice of tire. The center portion of this track designed specifically to show you the importance of overcoming inertia. From a stop position, it's difficult to get started in the winter when you have the improper choice of tires. Young Drivers of Canada is the only advanced driver training program that stresses the importance of taking off. And the biggest difference is going to be the type of tires you have on. The correct choice of tires will mean that you can actually overcome inertia and escape through the intersection before the Mack truck comes barreling along. That way, when it turns out that you need a shot of gas to escape the rear end collision, you actually can transfer that power into traction at the front wheels because you've got the right choice of tires.
Seeing that a lot of consumers are confused by the two terms, all season.
I understand.
If you consider the term all season, you think 4 seasons, that's all seasons. Whereas all weather, well, all weather, it's the same thing. A lot of people are confused over the two differences.
And I mentioned this earlier, that is one of the major debates amongst our tire manufacturers.
Crashes where we had 5 or 6 cars and the domino passed the 400, bang, 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 bang.
Yes.
And there was less than a car length behind, it's like, it's gonna happen, and sure enough.
And I have a nice set of all-season tires. We're using them all the time. The car comes with them. Everybody's happy. If you wanted all-weather tires, you would have all-season tires which have the 3-peak on it. So the difference between all season and all weather is all weather as the 3-peak snowflake symbol?
Not necessarily, because there are all seasons which have that symbol too.
Within the industry today, about dedicated winter tires and all-weather tires and all-season tires. Some manufacturers say, no, I don't want to produce an all-weather tire because that's yet another compromise.
Yes.
And in doing that, I don't want to confuse consumers. You have other manufacturers who produce all-weather tires and dedicated winter tires.
Yeah.
And they will say there is a unique and niche market out there for folks who drive in climates, and I'm picking the lower mainland, Vancouver,
Yeah.
maybe the GTA, so a lot of people,
Yeah.
the temperature is more moderate,
Yeah.
and so we have designed a tire that meets the snow traction capabilities so they can put the 3-peak Mountain Snowflake symbol on it.
Yeah.
And they say this tire is good enough in winter,
Yeah.
a softer compound than an all-season tire. And so you get the winter traction capability, but you don't need to do the changeovers in the spring and the fall, so you can use literally every season. But even the manufacturers of those all-weather tires have dedicated winter tires. No one is suggesting that the all-weather tire is as good as a dedicated winter tire. So if you need the safest winter driving experience,
Yeah.
then the dedicated winter tire is absolutely the preferred option. But if you live lower mainland, BC, maybe in the GT area, and you don't travel out beyond there, the all-weather tire may be a perfect solution for you.
There's some manufacturers that are actually selling them as 3-season tires
The all-weather
now.
tire?
They call them all weather or all season, but they're calling it a 3-season.
Well,
All seasons.
yes, the all-season.
Yeah, they're taking the winter section out of it, and they're calling it a 3-season tire. So this way here, we have a dedicated snow.
Yes.
So it's 3 seasons, really all season.
The key is the symbol,
Good color,
the 3
all
peak
season.
mountain snowflake symbol. That is the first, that's a performance-based standard, the first performance-based standard that the industry
Yeah,
developed.
yeah,
And so an all-weather tire,
we're addressing it now.
that all-weather tire does in fact meet the performance-based criteria to allow the manufacturer to put that symbol on the side of this tire. And that basically says that this tire in medium packed snow conditions
Yeah.
will achieve a 10% traction improvement over what the industry calls their standard reference tire. There is one tire
One tire, yeah.
that the industry uses as its sort of
The measuring stick.
the measuring stick. And that is a very, very good, it's an all-season tire,
Yeah.
but it is very, very good in medium packed snow. So if you have a tire that has the 3 Peaks Mountain Snowflake symbol on it, you're getting a very good snow
It's
tire.
a winter tire.
Yes.
Is that the only symbol? Or are
That's
there
the only-
other symbols?
That's the only performance-based symbol for traction is that the 3 Peak Mountain.
Three Peak Mountain.
That is the symbol. And you know the interesting thing about that? That was developed here in Canada.
Was it really?
It's
That's
now utilized virtually around the world to identify angry
It's based on that one standard tire. That if it medium packed snow, that
Yes.
standard tire
There
you.
is an ASTM test, ASTM 1085F.
Yeah.
If your tire, you run the standard reference tire through, you
Yeah.
gotta run it like 10 times. Be sure you get consistent weather conditions, consistent traction conditions. Then you run your tire against it. And this is done over 3 days.
Yeah,
So it's
so
very,
it's
very
pretty-
rigorous. And so if your tire has a 10% improvement
Yeah.
in traction capability over the standard reference tire, then you can put
Then
that
you put the symbol.
on the side of the tire. So it's performance-based. We've never had that before.
That's phenomenal. Correct?
Correct.
Everybody's in agreement that 7 degrees Celsius around there, things firm up.
Start firm.
Start to firm.
Transition to flats.
Yeah.
Tires get harder the colder the temperature. So 7 is sort
It's
of
just at least it's a good
it's
number.
a number that sort of works
Yeah, good.
for talking. to
Yeah,
customers.
that's all I do, talk to customers. People, they call. So you want a good set of winter tires. And what I've been telling people is, you know, Remembrance Days in November. November's a good time to put on your winter tires. Because generally, if you're not watching the temperature every day, as soon as it starts fluctuating, then when you take them off, I say, well, you know, in April Fool's Day, you'd be a fool to leave it on much past April Fool's. You should be watching the temperature at that point, right? So November, April, something like that. Is that still solid?
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. Major population, we are still a very, very large country geographically.
Yeah.
Relatively small population wise, but the population is in very discrete climatic difference. So I mentioned I was in BC just 2 weeks ago talking to the ministry, and they are really struggling because they have a huge population that lives in Lower Mainland
Yeah.
and in Vancouver Island, where it's much more temperate.
Yeah.
And so they don't really want to mandate winter tire usage, to mandate it, And yet, if you're traveling in the mountainous regions of BC, you'd be crazy to not have winter tires. The thing of the M+S is, years ago, it meant mud snow.
Yeah.
And in fact, there is the RMA, the Road Manufacturers Association in the US, has a geometric definition of void, called void to tread ratio.
Okay.
A certain
Yeah.
amount of tread. And if it has a certain void to tread ratio, you would put the M+S symbol. But over the years, that has morphed into a symbol that I would call it a legacy symbol. It's just there.
Okay.
Except in Europe, M&S really does stand for a winter tire.
It does.
Because, and this is what again makes Canada unique. In the 1970s, the all-season tire was created in the US. Goodyear was the first proponent of that. But now the all-season tire is really the one most used in Canada and the US, whereas the all-season tire never did get much picked up in Europe. In Europe, they always had summer tires and they had
So the
winter
convention
tires.
was it?
And their winter tires for Europe is those which have an M+S symbol.
Oh, I got it. That's their winner.
Even though the M+S was never a performance-based standard. There was no performance test, winter tire test that required it. Whereas now today, because of the work that we did with Transport Canada back in the mid-90s, it was Transport Canada that directed the industry and said, if you don't develop a performance-based standard for winter tires, we will. So it took a couple of years, but eventually the industry came up with a test standard, ASTM 1085, and created a symbol. So you run winter tires today against that ASTM test, and you will find that on average, the tires are running 30% better, 40% better. The bogey is only 10, they only have to get to 10% better. But on average, the winter tire performance capabilities of a dedicated winter tire is more like 130%, 140%.
Technology's come so far.
Yes.
What defines the difference between an all-season and all-weather? What defines the difference between an all-season and an all-weather?
The difference is this three-peak mountain snowflake symbol. That is essentially the difference. So the tire manufacturer's done is put in a different type of tread compound. When we talk about winter tires, you want softer tread compound to be more friendly. So that's what this is. The all-weather tire has got better, softer compound than an all-season tire, but not to the degree of a dedicated winter tire.
Which tire type was, in your opinion, the best?
I like the ice tires, or the extreme ice tires. I found they grip. I don't know if it's a lot better than the winter tires, but for me, it did everything I was supposed to do, especially in the winter time. You were able to climb over snowbanks just as well as you could with the snow tires, and it just did overall better in ice.
We live in Canada, and in Canada you have winter driving conditions, and it's important that all motorists learn to drive in all different types of winter conditions. So the big learning today is whether we're driving on snow-packed roads or ice roads or in snowbanks or in dry pavement, having the right tire can really help you get through your normal driving experience.
What were your impressions of the different winter tires?
What I found most impressive to me was how some tires, particularly on the slalom course, you could get through that course pretty quickly, whereas on some of the other tires, you really have to fight it to stay in control. If you turn the wheel just a little bit too much, you are really going, that ice is going to really take you off the slalom. So I found that to be quite interesting. And then, of course, the braking test, again, is the one where I think you see the most difference between the various types of tires. Interesting one for me was in the stopping distance component. Quite a significant difference, even between going 50 kilometers an hour versus 40 kilometers an hour. I never really quite appreciated that the stopping distance would be so different, just with 10 kilometers per hour. So that was very a good insight.
There was a little bit of difference in the winter tires we had here today. One of them was a premium winter tire and one was sort of a cost-conscious winter tire. And there was, in fact, a difference that you could feel in the amount of traction they provided. With tires, there is a certain amount of truth in that you get what you pay for. That doesn't mean you have to buy an expensive tire to get traction, but you do have to consider how much traction you want to get, and is it worth the extra premium to get the absolute latest in technology available today, or are you willing to get a technology in a winter tire that's 1 season old, 2 seasons old, or 4 seasons old? As the technology moves on, each new generation of tire is very expensive, and the technology trickles down, and the tires, last year's tires, become cheaper. The 3rd year they're cheaper, 4th year they're even cheaper. So you do, to an extent, have to make a conscious decision about value. I believe winter tires should be mandatory in Ontario. It's been shown in every jurisdiction where they are mandatory that fatality rates have come down. Rates of serious injury collisions have come down, and basically fender benders have come down. There are a number of different new tires coming on the market these days, and regulation is not keeping up to the marketplace. There's a very important standard that Transport Canada has for winter tires, and it's a mountain peak, 3 mountain peaks with a snowflake inside, and that is on the sidewall of any tire that is rated as a winter tire. That's very important because there's a new category of tires coming along called all-weather tires. They're basically tires that have the Transport Canada pictograph on the side, but they can be left on the car all year round. So you can drive them in the summer, you can drive them in the winter, and you don't have to make seasonal changeovers. The difference is there's a little bit less winter performance, and they're a little bit noisier in the summer and a little bit rougher riding, but they do offer the advantage of no changeovers. However, some tire companies are taking advantage of the lack of regulation in defining what an all-weather tire is to stick the words all-weather on the side of their tires, or sticking some pictographs on the side with a snowflake on it, but not the official snowflake that Transport Canada requires. So the consumers should really be very aware of which tires are actually Transport Canada rated for severe winter use and which aren't. And don't let the words all-weather confuse you. Look at the sidewall of the tire before making your decision. If you keep a car for over 4 years, you come out ahead financially on the fact that you use winter tires in the winter. All-season tires or summer tires wear faster in the winter than winter tires, and winter tires wear faster than all seasons in the summer. So if you switch tires, you will actually, out of 2 sets of tires, gain more mileage between the 2 sets than you would by running 1 set. And that includes even considering the cost of installation every year, twice a year. So you do come out ahead financially. It's just the initial bite.
ever rely completely on the technology of the winter tire. You must drive to the conditions of the road.
It only makes sense to slow down if you don't have the same amount of traction that you're used to. Your brain runs on a certain degree of autopilot. You step on the brake at a certain speed, and so you expect the car to slow down at a certain rate. Well, the first time it snows or freezes, that distance is greatly increased and your brain is not calibrated for it. So you need to recalibrate your driving for the winter. You need to slow down a little bit sooner. You need to let your tires do the work for you by giving them one job at a time. Slow down in a straight line, brake before the corner so you have maximum cornering ability left with the tires as you finish braking to get you around that corner. Look ahead, keep your eyes up, and for Pete's sake, slow down.
Well, I started 5 years ago, and in 2013 I won the Canadian National Production Championship. And I also won the Novice Driver of the Year, which is kind of like rookie here in Canada.
I heard you're a YD graduate. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. 17 years ago, when I first turned 16 and got my G1, I did do the young drivers training course, which was excellent. And yeah, well, I still use the techniques to this day when I'm driving.
2 winters ago, I actually got stuck on them. And they're on all-season tires, but it was on 4x4, and I still got stuck on them. So, pretty embarrassing.
Do you currently use winter tires?
Absolutely. I've been using winter tires for quite a number of years now. Would not be without it. I'm a commuter, so I drive from Waterloo to Mississauga virtually every day. So winter tires are very important to me and my family.
Going with the winter tires, can you share some benefits of winter tires?
Well, the biggest benefit with winter tires is that it gives you better stopping distance and better traction control. I spend a lot of time in my vehicle, and so from November right through until the spring, I need to know that wherever I go, that I can have confidence in my in getting to where I want to be. So winter tires have made a huge difference in my driving experience, for sure. A real life story for me, I was driving home from work one evening in the far left-hand lane, and I'm coming into Cambridge on route from work, Mississauga, and I'm looking in my rearview mirror and I can see a flashing light. I said, uh-oh, I had the OPP are on my back because I'm looking, I was doing about 120. This is the dead of winter. Well, I looked more closely, it wasn't the OPP. What it was a pickup truck in the middle lane doing 360s. I realized suddenly that I'd been driving on black ice. So take my foot off of the gas pedal and just sort of coast to get my my speed down, and I look and see that thankfully there were not any cars between him and I. Lots of cars quite a bit behind, but he did his 360 several times and slowly went off to the side of the road. He didn't tip over, but it was quite an experience to see that. It almost feels like you see it in slow motion. And I must tell you, those winter tires that I was driving, I had no sensation that I was on black ice. So that was a very, very interesting experience that will stay with me for some time.
It's worth spending money on good tires, but then there's a whole bunch of different selections between all season, winter, ice, and our question was, is there one tire that's better in all conditions? The truth, there isn't.
No.
Not that we got, unless you got...
Can't, because it compromises.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
What advice would you give drivers in Ontario for the winter?
Slow down. There's a big difference when you are trying to stop in high speeds. 20 kilometers an hour makes a huge difference. If you're trying to stop, just downright stopping, if you're going 60 kilometers per hour or if you're going 40, it's a big difference. 20 kilometers makes a huge difference.
And space for speed, right?
Exactly, yeah, and never follow too close to the car in front of you, especially when you have really crummy weather conditions.
How do you think the all-weather tire will stack up in the winter compared to all-season ice and snow tires?
Well, the all-weather tire is a relatively recent phenomenon in the marketing of tires. It's the tires that I've seen, it's a good tire and can be a useful winter tire solution depending on your circumstances. So if you're living in the lower mainland of British Columbia, maybe the GTA, where you have more temperate winter climate, the all-weather tire can be an option that you should at least look at. But if you're looking for the best winter tire driving experience, if you want the safest winter driving experience, then you really should be looking for a dedicated winter tire.
It was a great event. It was a really good hands-on kind of training technique that gives you kind of a first-hand glance of driving in actual snow and icy conditions using winter tires versus all weather versus all seasons. And it was really good because you physically see how much better improvement winter tires actually have to offer, even with stopping distance, stability. I mean, it's drastic how much greater they are.
It was really fun to get to know a lot of different tires. I'm used to driving all-season tires, which obviously isn't the best considering we do live in a very snowy country. So it was a good experience to get to test out winter tires, all-weather tires, season tires, and ice tires as well.
This program here today with young drivers was an excellent idea to showcase the differences available in traction through changing tires on a vehicle. The cars were largely identical, the tires changed, and we were able to see the distances required to stop for various speeds and feel the differences in the tire, how much control we had, how much traction there was, and how well they were able to keep the car in a straight line on a snowy curve. So overall, I think it was an excellent idea, and I highly encourage young drivers to continue with their education program.
Good event all around today, and I certainly thank young drivers for inviting us to participate.
So, do you think some of your skills that you picked up at Wiley are applicable on the rally trail?
Definitely, yeah. You know, I still use some of the driving techniques on the road, and just basic car control, especially if you're practicing on these kind of courses on the training course where you're doing the skid training on the ice. It's really valuable experience. You can't replicate that same experience on the street without causing danger, basically. so really being in this environment, having the training facility here, being able to use it is very, very good experience.